Okay, it's now 7:04 p.m. by my clock. I'm going to call the September 2nd, 2025 meeting of the Wakefield Conservation Commission to order. First will be roll call. Eleanor?
Here.
Jennifer?
Here.
And I'm present as well. And I see Jim Luciani is joining us. Welcome, Jim. So our first item on the agenda is L&L Development LLC, 154 to 158 Salem Street, notice of intent, and they've asked us to continue that to September 16th. So we will be continuing that one. And we can move on to, it's now 7:05, so we can move on to the next one, which is 20 Winnissimette Avenue. Matthew McCarthy's request for a determination of applicability for construction of an addition within 100 feet of wetland resource and 200 feet of a riverfront area. So this one's an RDA for us to take a look at.
Well, did we want to approve the minutes?
Oh, shoot. Yeah, thanks.
August 5th. Sorry.
No, thank you. Yeah, okay, so before we go on to that, let's do the minutes for the August 5th meeting. Were there any questions, concerns, or changes? I saw your email that you did not have anything additional beyond what you'd sent to Judy. Okay, I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes of August 5th.
Motion to approve the August 5th meeting minutes.
Okay, and a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Jennifer. All in favor, Eleanor?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
And I vote in favor as well. So the minutes from August 5th are approved. Appreciate the forbearance about the mid-month meeting. So we're now on to 20 Winnissimette Avenue, Matthew McCarthy. Matthew, do you want to speak to this? I see you're on.
Yeah, I actually was hoping, I think is Hayes Engineering on?
John came on and vanished.
Yeah, I saw John for a second. I don't see him now.
Yeah. Ethan, can you bring up the site plan that we got with that one? John just asked to come on again, so. We lost you. Okay. You seem to be having. Hello, John. You're still muted. Ethan is sharing the screen for the for your first item on the agenda, Matthew McCarthy's RDA. But if you want to take us through it, John, you're
Sure.
welcome.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know. I was having camera issues.
Yeah, I know. We all saw you come in and then vanish. So
I don't know. My phone wanted to take over for some reason. I don't know. I don't understand it.
pesky creatures sometimes.
Smarter than me.
Yeah. That's unfortunately the case for all of us.
Good evening, John Ogren, Hayes Engineering. We're here on 20 Winnissimette Ave in Wakefield. I believe the homeowner is on Matthew McCarthy.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you guys are familiar where Winnissimette Avenue is.
I can't say I am. No, thanks.
Yeah, it's kind of east of 129 and it backs up kind of where the wetlands show on this plan. It backs up to 128.
So it backs up to the wetlands along 128.
Yes, exactly.
Ah,
So it's kind of on that side behind, what is it? Kind of, there's a neighborhood behind where the animal hospital is. Kind of in that area. Does that help at all, or I can bring
Yeah.
up?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
yeah, it does.
Um, so what we've applied for was a request for determination of applicability. And we're dealing with an existing house lot, existing house, driveway. We identified resource areas. There are wetlands that are basically within the state layout um, that we've identified. There's also, we also identified there's essentially a channel that runs under 128 where it kind of goes out to Reading and then it comes back to Wakefield. And that channel we identified off of some of the town topos, and that would be considered a river. So there's a portion of the lot, kind of the northeast corner, that is within the 200-foot outer riparian zone. But we're not proposing to do any work in that 200-foot. And essentially that area is, previously disturbed anyways, essentially lawn area, but we're not proposing any work within that zone. So really the only work we're talking about is basically between the 50 and the 100 foot buffer from the bordering vegetated wetland that's just off the property. I
Mhm.
think the actual addition that we're proposing is about 70 feet from the wetlands. And you can see it's a fairly modest addition that we're talking about. I mean, it does show dimensions of like 14 by 25, I think it is. But that's kind of the outer extremes, quite a bit of it is contained within, there's some existing house within those dimensions.
Right, I see that it essentially you're sort of filling in around what is a projection on the building already.
Right, kind of squaring it off. I don't
Mhm.
know if I can share my screen, I can
Sure.
show you. The homeowner put nope, not that one. Um, the homeowner has kind of painted out the area that we're talking about.
Okay,
So this is the existing house. This is the
right.
driveway next to it, and you can kind of see this white line here. It's
Mhm.
kind of the corner, so that's extending that front. Looking at basically as you look in the house, the right side,
Right.
projecting out the front face of the house. Then it's going to come back, and this is kind of looking from the rear, looking out towards the streets off to the left. So you can kind of see the white here, and then there's the white corner here. So you can see it's like I said, it's a fairly modest addition that we're proposing.
Mhm. And the area is all lawn and planted beds at this
Yeah,
point.
it's lawn or some land, there's some landscaping in that area, but um, even beyond where we're talking about it, it's lawn or driveway. So if the commission has any questions, I can certainly answer them and go into more detail if necessary.
Right. Um, I mean, it looks to me fairly straightforward.
Oh, I,
Um,
I should mention, I know Ethan and Elizabeth from our office went out and did take a look at the wetlands line.
and Ethan, any comments based on that walk with Libby?
I don't have any issues. It's a pretty flat, pretty long distance from the house to the wetland.
And I think from what John said, it's something in the order of 75 feet,
Mhm.
I
which
think it's around 70 feet.
from the addition to the nearest part of the wetlands. So
Correct.
I don't, my own feeling is that it doesn't seem like this is something we need to take up, but I'll ask my colleagues what their thoughts are on it. Eleanor?
I didn't have concerns looking at the plan. It didn't seem like it would impact the wetlands.
No, it's certainly far enough away. No changes to the drainage, essentially just by the small bump out of the house, I presume. Jennifer, anything further to? You're on mute, unfortunately.
Okay, thanks. It looks like it's completely outside of the 200-foot riverfront, and is only within the 100-foot buffer, and it looks like there are plans for straw wattles, so, I mean, that looks fine to me.
Yeah,
So
we're
I think
showing the straw water rate pretty much right at the 200-foot.
Mhm.
that seems like a reasonable approach there. It sounds like we're all willing to move to a negative determination of applicability.
Yes.
So I guess we need a motion to do that, correct?
Make a motion for a negative determination of applicability for 20 Winnisomet Avenue.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer.
Second.
Thanks, Eleanor. All in favor, Eleanor,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. So no further action on this one required. Thank you, John, for the
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you, John.
The next one is actually not scheduled for another 14 minutes, so I may want to hold for a moment because folks from the sponsor may still want to come on. I mean, I know John and Brian are part of that team, but there may be other folks yet to arrive. Ethan sent you both, Eleanor and Jennifer, a summary of our meeting with Bill Renault and his concerns about the wetland bylaw. And wondered if either of you had questions or comments about the about that summary. I think a big piece of Bill's message, and also a message, who else was present in the meeting early on? Was it planning?
Yeah, planning and economic development.
Right. And the message we got from all three was, don't expect to bring anything new to the fall town meeting. That given that we're still operating under an interim town administrator, that it's not likely that we're going to get anything new moved through at this point. So we should plan for spring. I think that was the first message. And then Bill raised various other concerns, which I think Ethan did a pretty good job of representing in his summary.
Who from planning was there? Like, who were the individuals present?
The planner, Marissa, and then Erin from economic development department.
Okay. I haven't heard that news before, but I guess that's helpful to hear.
Yeah, I mean, this was all three of them I think seem to be saying the same message. Bill was pretty clear about it, but also Marissa and the economic development person, both, I think, were concurred that the fact that we're still in an interim situation, and at most, while we have a name announced for a new town administrator, that person isn't on yet. And I'm not sure there's any expectation of a start date. So we're going to be into a somewhat
Sorry,
uncertain.
when did Marissa start? I know she's new and she's reporting to Aaron Kokinda, I think, who was at the meeting. Is that who was
Yeah.
there?
2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
3 weeks maybe.
So I don't know what kind of history she has on Wakefield. But I do understand Bill's concerns. I emailed him and Joe and Ethan back, just looking to understand specific examples in Wakefield of their concerns. And I can forward that to the commission later on, but just hoping, in these examples where we see other towns doing a bank definition, one way, a lot of other towns are doing it. So I just want to understand really what the risk is by changing that one word in our proposed bylaw. The greater of or lesser of bank
Right.
or mean annual flood level.
Well, I could see that the mean annual flood level could become challenging if it extends considerably further out from top of bank than we would anticipate, and could present us with an issue by moving from the lesser of the two to the greater of the two. Eleanor, I think that's the one place I could see that being an issue.
I think this is where maybe Elaine could be helpful. My understanding is with mean annual flood level, it's sort of the normal high rise. I forget the statistical definition, but it shouldn't breach the bank. If it breaches the bank, then you're looking at, I believe, a flooding situation where it's, land subject to flooding. You're kind of getting into 100-year floods and things like that. Typically, it's the scour marks below the bank. That's a mean annual.
That define mean annual flood level?
Yeah. There's
Elaine, can you confirm that?
Yeah, actually, it's mean annual high water, just to distinguish
thank you.
from
Sorry.
flooding. And so I guess it's mean annual high water, first available break and slope.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So the question is, do you want it less or greater? Is that your issue?
Yes.
My question to you is, why wouldn't you use the same definition as in the regulations? Why are you
DEP uses the lesser of.
Yeah. The lesser of, and other town bylaws use the greater of. And I think primarily when I've talked to people, it's because it's too hard in the field to determine what the mean annual high water level is. There's not like a great statistical definition. And it's much easier to see a bank. People can observe the first observable break in the slope. And so it just simplifies, what that is, I think, is the thinking.
Yes, I would agree. I agree. It simplifies it because you don't know what the annual high water mark is unless you're out there in March or April, but you can always see the first available break and slope.
Right.
Well, should we simply eliminate the high water mark?
We can look further. I mean, my question back to I mean, I want to be open-minded. I just wanted an example of where it would measurably move the wetlands line, because I don't believe it really would. I think we're talking inches,
Mm-hmm, okay.
you know, but maybe Elaine can think of an area. You know, I think in a situation where there's not a clear bank, for example, like when, you know, I'm just thinking of like the beach area near Lake Quannapowitt, where it's just kind of relatively level for a large distance. You might not see this, like near the bandstand, you might not see quote unquote a bank. So if you're determining, you know, you would use other means to determine where the wetland boundary is, not the bank.
So
Right.
in situations such as that, what you usually do is, especially if it's grassed over and mowed and you don't have wetland vegetation, that's when you start looking at soils.
Mm-hmm.
And as a matter of fact, you have that at 50 Quannapowitt, where
Right.
wetlands line is based on soils. It's a soils delineation. So you do have other abilities to find where that wetland line is. And even if you did it from the edge of the bank, you still have to do either soils or vegetation or both.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you do a definition, especially as Eleanor says, where the difference is minimal, that it would get somewhat confusing if you have a different definition than the regulations. I know that bylaws are supposed to be stricter than the Wetlands Protection Act, or there's not much point in having a bylaw. But in this instance, I think with technical definitions, you might want to keep them both the same.
Seems like that's something we should consider further.
Right. Are you guys going to revert, Elaine, in Winchester? Because I know you have your own definition of bank.
Are we going to revert? We are in the midst of revising our own wetlands bylaw. And what part of the Winchester bylaw are you referring to?
I think I was looking up the definition of bank, and my computer is not being responsive, but I think it used the word embankment, or it was even kind of a looser definition.
Well, I would say that
wetland
bylaw was written in 1987.
Mm.
Why we are looking to update it. And I think that language should be tightened.
Mm. Paul, it's almost 7:30.
Okay, so we can move on then to I have 7:27.
Oh, sorry.
But we should think about that one a little bit further. Be interested to see what Winchester does with theirs.
Yeah.
But we need to think about that and pay attention to that question.
Does that cause issues in Winchester Lane, the different definitions, or create just additional barriers for people?
It hasn't so far. As we do our filings under the bylaw and under the Wetland Protection Act, we've had other discrepancies and other issues where we've had to separate conditions under the bylaw from conditions under the Wetlands Protection Act, but not on that, no, not on the definition of bank. we haven't had anything that's proved to be an issue on that.
I mean, the language we used is from the MAC template, so it's, you know, it's a solid definition.
Mhm.
And I guess the only other thing I will point out is the planning board did talk about how difficult it was, you know, that there wasn't a clear definition of bank. That was something they mentioned when we presented the wetlands bylaw to them. That it could just, you know, create a lot of discussion. So it's just another point to consider.
So I guess, well, it's going on 7:30, but I guess the question, my final question would be then, do we need to tighten up our definition of bank to meet the concerns that that they've raised?
I guess I wanted to see an example where they really thought it would move the wetlands boundary, the extreme measure that they did.
Okay.
And yeah,
Let's, you sent some questions to Bill. Have you gotten
Yeah.
anything back from him yet?
not yet.
Okay.
And,
I'd be
you know,
interested to see what he says when you get it back.
yeah,
You might
Can
ask
I-
him to copy each of us, because that way we won't be violating the open meetings law by you
Yes.
sharing it with us.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Can I ask one question? When
Yeah.
I'm a little hazy on how the definition of bank would change the location of a buffer zone, because a buffer zone is associated with a wetland. Do you mean the riverfront area?
I didn't suggest that. That was Bill's concern. Ethan, I don't know if you shared your summary with Elaine.
I think I did. I guess because the buffer extends from the resource, it just, if the resource changes, it changes the buffer, but that would depend on the resource that we're looking at.
Okay, so it sounds like Ethan and I should probably have a chat on this Friday. Just to sort of tighten up, it up.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea, and we can discuss it further at the next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
It's now 7:30, and we can move on to the next item on the agenda, which is DEP 313653. I'm 652, I'm sorry, Pack Self-Storage of Wakefield LLC. Care of Chris Capozzoli. This is the 50 Quantico Parkway project. And we, in the public hearing, which we continued at our last meeting. Chris, I think I saw you, and I believe John is representing you, and Brian. I'll defer to you guys to just tell us who's going to speak.
Sure, I'd be happy to, Mr. Chair, if that's okay.
Fine.
Great, thank you. For the record, Attorney Brian McGrill, on behalf of the applicant on this matter. And as you mentioned, John Ogren, our consultant, is here. As you know, the board Friday night did their site visit and walked the site. So we're interested in what your thoughts are as a commission based on that. And then, we've had discussion on the delineation of the wetland line, which is critical to, everything starts there, obviously. So we, you had your site visit, so we'd love discussions with you in that regard, and kind of share some of our thoughts on that with you as well.
Okay. My biggest challenge from that site visit was how close you get to the wetland in that one area of your parking. I think I raised that with you and John when we were out in the field. You are pretty much right there at the boundary at that one corner of the parking lot, and that gives me some pause. I haven't talked about it with Eleanor or Jennifer at all, but it's concerning because it gives us absolutely virtually no buffer at all to the wetland itself at that point. I'm just wondering if there's an alternate approach to how you configure the parking that might still function properly for you as for backing to the building and all, or whether everything is locked in by the configuration.
So we appreciate that concern. We'll look at it with our design team, Mr. Chair, to see what we can come up with. Is, you know, in either alternative design or some type of mitigation or protective barrier or something to try to address that concern.
Okay, because that was the one thing that jumped out at me. I didn't see a lot else that was particularly concerning, and the site's been mowed for ages. And every place else you're fairly well off the wetland line. You're leaving the western portion of the site completely undeveloped except for walking paths. So I don't see any concerns there. Eleanor, Jennifer?
I think that was my main concern. I was also sort of interested in understanding the site preparation work, like just the level of disturbance, where the vegetation would be cleared on the site, and how much, you know, we have the finished footprint, but how much additional space is needed for the equipment to kind of get in and maneuver in that tight space. So would we actually be losing some of the wetland given how proximate the edge of the parking lot is, or if there's a way to, you know, protect it without encroaching. I was also curious if there's any ability to shift it away, you know, move the whole thing a few feet over, just.
In what direction, Eleanor?
I guess it would be closer to 100 Quannapowitt.
So shift it to the right as you're looking at it from the street.
Yes.
Okay. I think as far as construction, we won't be encroaching into the wetland for construction, but we can provide, you know, some type of construction management type plan.
Yeah, I was also concerned about how close that corner comes to the wetland, and specifically about the potential for, you know, kind of leaks from cars in the parking lot, and then, you know, with kind of rain, that getting, just making sure that that is really kind of sealed off from the wetland so that, you know, when it rains, that water doesn't flow kind of out of that area into the wetland, but, you know, away from the wetland. That would be a concern that I have. Another one is just the potential for people to be kind of throwing trash from, you know, the parking lot kind of into that area. Is that going to be monitored? Is there going to be like a trash can there? Just something to prevent that happening. I live on a corner lot. It's kind of crazy what people throw out of their cars. You wouldn't think people do that, but they do, you know? So I guess how can the potential for a lot of trash to be thrown that direction, you know, into the wetland, how can that be mitigated? And then a question about the plan. I didn't see anything that would suggest that people could, well, this is a question. Can people step out of the parking lot into like that kind of grassy area behind the parking lot, or is that gonna be kind of elevated and not accessible realistically to pedestrians?
We can make it not accessible. I mean, we can. You know,
I think that would be
yeah.
better, yeah.
That can easily be done. You know, as far as we'll have oil separators and curbing to protect, and then, you know, obviously we'll have an operation and maintenance plan to maintain and pick up trash, and as we typically do on projects like this.
Mhm.
Yeah, if I might add to that, the parking lot is graded essentially away from where it's close to the wetlands, out towards Corner Power Parkway, where it's collected by essentially catch basins, goes through a forebay and into an infiltration basin. So that parking lot is not shedding directly to that wetland.
Mhm. Yeah, there's no gaps in the curb that water's gonna go out of into that
Yeah,
wetland.
no, it's either a portion of it is retaining wall, and then there's a curbing all along that edge of the parking lot.
Mhm, mhm.
And we're not anticipating access from that parking lot out towards 128. You know, it's probably about a little over a 4 foot high retaining wall that people would have to jump down off of.
Uh-huh, yeah, okay. Yeah, and then the last, in terms of just getting a little more space from the wetland, I don't know if it's possible to sort of cut a corner. I know that space exists, you know, for trucks, large vehicles to be able to pull into the garage. But I wonder if it needs to be squared that way, or it could be, you know, like cut a bit, have that corner cut.
We're gonna look at that whole section
Hmm.
on design.
I think you have our concerns.
I do, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the wetland line.
Sure.
We've, you know, as we've said, you know, we think that's the most conservative line, and we're committed to develop around that. But as the commission knows, DEP in their letter has referenced that, you know, wetlands delineations greater than 3 years old have to be redelineated in the field. So we thought as a team about that, and we think we want to have a discussion that perhaps we should do that, and we should hire a consultant to go out and confirm that line, reconfirm that line and delineate it in the field. Just because we'd rather not be dealing with DEP further down the road. And I think that would just be potentially a benefit for everybody.
I think that would make sense to me. We don't want DEP deciding that they're going to second guess the delineation. That if we just simply accept that the older delineation that you folks have. So if you're going to be doing that, then I guess we'll accept that approach. And we'd probably have Ethan or Elaine check it out after you've reconfirmed your delineation.
Yeah, what we would like is for us to work with either you as chair and or Elaine or Ethan to come up with a consultant that we make sure that we're all comfortable as qualified to do it.
Okay.
Because we don't want to, you know, just go pick and then, you know, be, oh, who's that person and their qualifications. We really want to we're extremely confident in it. We want to belt and suspender it.
Okay.
So there's no question. So with your commission's permission, we'd like to try to find some folks that are qualified to do that. In advance of this, I actually reached out to Peter Fletcher to see if he would do it, and he's retired and said he'd like to, but he couldn't. So, but he actually gave me a name of somebody who's qualified, so I can share that with Elaine and Ethan, if that's okay with you, Mr. Chair, and
That'll work fine.
can maybe try to find somebody that we're all comfortable with.
Yeah, and they can loop me in on it.
Does the commission think that would be a good idea?
I agree with that approach. I see nodding from Eleanor.
Makes sense.
So, yeah. I think best to settle it before you invest a pile of money in site prep and building construction, and then have DEP decide, oh, this doesn't satisfy us. Okay, we'll look to hear more from you, Brian, about your consultant selections.
That'd be great.
Consultant selections. So I guess we'll be continuing this to our, well, I presume we'll continue to the next, or,
A couple of people with their hands up.
okay. I see Sean Smith. Sean?
Yeah, hi. Just a couple questions as we forward. Again, I'm here representing RJ Kelly, Director Butter. I heard, I think, that we have a 4-foot high retaining wall along that wetland line. Is that accurate?
I will look to the proponent to that.
Yeah, it's a I think 4 to 4.5 foot high wall at the highest.
And how is the construction of your guardrail there for fall protection and vehicle protection going to work as well along there? I think we need even more room than just room to construct a wall. I don't know if you've seen people drive those U-Hauls, but they're not usually the best. They can go right over the wall if you don't have some sort of fall protection there. You'll need something for pedestrians anyway, but just curious how that's working. And I think I remember last time the proponent had mentioned that an updated stormwater plan was coming, and I don't think I've seen that yet, or the town has seen that yet. I didn't know if we had an expectation for delivery there.
None yet.
Great. And when we do, what time of year are we going to do the wetland reflagging out there? Because I know that, where we have hydric soil sort of defining your wetland line, sometimes that can be finicky during the dry months, and you may not get an accurate depiction. You may need to do a full spectrum fall and spring. Just a suggestion to the commission. But that's it for tonight. Thank you.
It sounds like you have not yet made a selection of your consultant.
No, but that's why just
Finding the wetland, so.
tonight. So we want to get it done as soon as possible. So.
Okay, I would probably. Juan raised an interesting question about dry season versus wet season, and I'd be interested to hear from your consultant, depending on when they actually do the delineation, about their thinking on how hydric soils might change, because certainly we want to understand that. Will the hydric soil profile change enough dramatically to vary from dry season to wet season? I mean, at this point in the year, we've been in a dry season for a fair amount of time, and forecasts seem to be pointing to that continuing.
Paul,
Yes,
I just want to, can I just say something?
sure, Jimmy.
I know that, can you hear me, Paul?
Yeah, you're clear.
I know when Peter Fletcher did the delineation, it was, I guess this is really the right time of the year to do it. So like the other gentleman said, you should be careful about the time of year that you do it.
So Fletcher waited until what, spring to?
I think it. I was trying to remember that myself. I'm not exactly sure, but it's someone that's going to do it that Fletcher recommends. I would say is going to be fine. I mean, he was very good at what he did, and I felt the whole board felt very confident about the line. I mean, we were out there for the whole thing, and it just passed with flying colors. I
Mhm.
don't think the hydric soils are going to change at all over this period of time. But that's just all I have to say.
Okay.
Well, I think there's a little confusion. I mean, hydric soils develop in the soil itself, and
They
that's
develop over time as well, right?
yeah, it's over time, and it's being exposed to, you know, essentially whatever groundwater or saturation. So the fact that it's fall, winter, spring, whatever, doesn't really affect the location of the hydric soils. Those are, like you said, develop over time.
Okay.
I mean, it's going to affect in terms of, you know, potentially if there's groundwater, or if you know, if you're looking for that.
If you're seeing saturation.
Yeah, if you're looking for that saturation layer, obviously, and then if it's dry, then that's going to be difficult to do.
Right. I understand.
Well,
But that was my impression of hydric soils as well, was that they would be an artifact of years of wetting cycles.
well, the good news is when Peter Fletcher looked at this back in 2020, he did it in October.
Okay.
So we couldn't be at a better time. He
Doesn't sound
certainly
like
found
you
it was a
could-
fine
if you're-
time to do it back then.
If you're embarking on consultant selection right now, it doesn't sound like you're going to be doing much before October either.
Maybe, depends.
Okay. But it will be in the same time frame.
Yeah, I would say, yeah,
Okay.
we're at the beginning of September.
Okay. Well, we'll look to hear more. We'll continue this to our next meeting and look to hear more from you then, Brian.
Yeah, so maybe at the next meeting, we can update you where we are with a consultant, but probably not too much substantive information until
Okay.
this gets done.
That's fine. And if you want to communicate with staff and about the consultant selection, and you can also include me on that or not, as you, however you want to proceed.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I don't have any major travel plans for a while, so I'll be around.
Thank you.
Anything further on this? Any other questions from the public? Okay. I think we will move on to, ooh, we've still got 9 minutes, so hold on that for a minute. Anything further that you want, Eleanor or Jennifer, want to add to our discussion of earlier on the bylaw?
I'm looking at Bill's comments about measuring the isolated wetlands. And wanted to ask, do you know which comment I'm talking about? Measuring, determining the size of the wetland?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
the 1,000 square feet. And I suppose, I guess I'm wondering how often that comes up already in Wakefield with sort of measuring, you know, bodies of water, wetlands that, you know, cross over, you know, property lines. How much of an issue is that in both Wakefield and Winchester?
Well, I'll weigh in on that one. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And it's important because those isolated wetlands tend to be vernal pools. And so if they're just a little bit too small to measure according to the parameters you have in your bylaw, they don't get protected. So I haven't, forgive me, I've been away for 2 weeks. So I haven't had a chance to look at Bill's comments, but you certainly do want to have a standard that you can rely upon to protect those vernal pools that aren't protected under the Wetlands Protection Act.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what Bill's problem with the definition was?
So he's concerned about adding jurisdiction for isolated wetlands. The applicant would have to prove that an isolated wetland, so the current threshold for a jurisdictional isolated wetland is currently 1,000 square feet. He's saying that an applicant would have to prove that it's less than 1,000 square feet by identifying the entire boundary to show its exact size. Sometimes the isolated wetland may extend onto a neighbor's property, require permission of the neighbor to go on the property to measure it. Yeah, he's raising concerns about just the practicalities of surveying, you know, to determine the 1,000 square foot threshold.
I don't, personally, I don't think it's that onerous a burden.
Mhm.
The ones I've seen, they aren't that difficult to determine where the boundary is. So in the field, it's not that hard to say where they start and where they end. As for 1,000 square feet, well, if it's on one property, then it's not that difficult if you have a surveyor. And if it is on another property, I think you can also use aerial photographs that are reasonably accurate in this day and age. I wouldn't change it. I don't know how Ethan feels, but I think the value of preserving those isolated wetlands for vernal pools is very high. And it is worth the trouble it takes to protect them.
Okay. Yeah, it's good to know that there's that alternative. If, you know, if a neighbor did not allow, you know, the agent to go on their property, you know, to know that there's an alternative approach.
We also have language in the bylaw where we're talking about vernal pools that allows it to be also be a measurement of volume of at least 200 cubic feet of water, I think, as an alternative component for a vernal pool, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I would have to look. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Anyway,
Right, for a vernal pool contains at least 200 cubic feet of water at some time during the year, most years.
right, and meets the other criteria to be a vernal pool.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we have some flexibility there. We thought it made sense to share Bill's comments. We probably want to just think about whether there are any of them that we want to address and keep the process moving on. I think we also should think about this question of whether it makes sense to try to take it to the fall town meeting or to hold until the spring.
I think we have to have a public forum.
We do need to do a public forum.
Yeah,
No
and we
question
should
about
do
that.
2, and then we see the feedback we get.
I would agree
You know,
with that, Eleanor. I think it's important that we do that probably fairly soon in September if we can do that.
I don't think we've had a new town administrator since 2008. And the ones before that were for many years. So, you know, I appreciate that concern. I think there might be other reasons why we would or wouldn't take this to town meeting in November, but I want to continue meeting with the public and understanding concerns.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
And socializing, right?
Yes. Yes. Agreed.
So Judy, it would be really helpful if you could help us pick a date, at least 2 dates that we could look to in the fall to do.
That's, I mean, whatever date you want, that's. Because you have to ensure a quorum. You'd have to coordinate that amongst yourselves.
Okay.
So we can schedule.
Are we talking about outside of the regular meeting?
I mean, you either take an hour, it depends what our volume is. You either take an hour of a conservation commission meeting, or you just do, maybe it's a Tuesday night on a week we don't meet and we just do the bylaw for an hour.
Could do that.
And it's a special meeting and we do 2 of them. And we encourage people to attend and ask questions.
Do them in person rather than Zoom like this. Is that your thought?
I think it'd be good to do both because honestly,
Do
I've
it
talked.
hybrid?
Yeah, I found in talking to people who are, maybe a little bit older, they tend to prefer the in-person meetings more. I found talking to some people who are pretty passionate about issues that they don't care for Zoom.
Okay.
So we could try doing it both ways. Ethan, I'm not sure, were you able to post the presentation on the website? I think that was our ask last meeting.
Which presentation is that?
The bylaw presentation?
Yes.
I don't think I had it sent to me since the last time we discussed it.
Okay, I'll send you a copy right now.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
And we do still have the public comments out for another 8 days on the bylaw, so might be good to gather those and then talk about this further next meeting.
Yeah.
Just schedule an in-person session for people to come and comment.
Yeah.
So we have the public comments out now, posted on the website. So that was 30 days. There's still 8 more days to that. So once that ends, we can gather the comments and talk about it at our next meeting. And then
Sure.
based on those comments, we can talk about a public forum.
I think we should go ahead and schedule the forum, but I think we'll probably wind up, we did that because we weren't meeting for the month. But I think it's honestly probably pretty hard for people to comment on it without seeing a presentation. I'm just thinking of my own review of other initiatives the town has passed. It definitely helps to attend something and be able to ask questions. And then I found people make more informed comments after that.
Well, we should think about scheduling that, the first of those sessions.
Yep.
I presume we'd need a 2-week notice to do it.
I think so. Jim has his hand up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
was
can I
just
just
trying to
ask-
say Jim has a question or comment.
I just want to say, I know I'm hopping on this 1,000 square feet, but I feel like if you could figure out what that converts to for a size, you might feel better about how big an area it could actually do. You know what I'm saying? It would actually qualify for that. I don't know, so if you convert it to cubic feet or something that
1,000
made
square feet is 20 by 50 or.
So if you made it like 100 by what, would 100 by 10 feet, and then that
Okay,
area would have to
yeah.
be, what would be the volume then? At how deep would it be? Or whatever. I just think I get lost every time I see 1,000. I feel like I don't know if it's right size or if it's the wrong size, but either way, I'm sure it'll work.
That's a good point. Or even a comparable, like 2 tennis courts or whatever it is. Paul, it's 8 o'clock.
We should definitely move on to the next, which is 44 Nunn Street. That's DEP 313653. It's the 44 Nahant Street Realty Trust. Joe Tavano is the trustee. And this is the proposal to raise the existing structures and replace them with a two-family duplex, parking, stormwater management, utilities, within 100 feet of a wetland resource area. And we did a site visit on Friday and met with Joe at that time. Joe, do you want to speak to this, or is John speaking for you?
I'm fine. John Ogren, Hayes Engineering. Yeah, at the site visit, I think essentially we were, from the last hearing, we were waiting for a DP number, which we have, and also I think that the commission wanted to go out and see it on the ground. So we had staked out the 25-foot buffer and the four corners of the proposed building, and I think really the major thing that came up was a comment from the DEP that they were looking for some sort of post and rail fence along the 25-foot buffer to the wetlands. And I guess it's just a matter of whether the commission feels that that's something that should be added. I don't know whether it can be just conditioned as part of the order that the installation. The only thing I'd point out is that the fence, they talked about signs along the fencing, that it was a zone of natural vegetation, and I don't know that that's necessarily a sign that the commission has, or we certainly wouldn't have that. So maybe we can leave that up for just the actual final sign design to be determined.
I'll ask staff, Elaine and Ethan, have you run into situations where there have been signs along wetland boundaries before? Or on the edge of buffers to define that?
You can get a small 4x4 metal tag that you can nail into the top of a post. It says limit of work line or no activity beyond this line, and it sits on top of the post, so it's not onerous to a homeowner.
The commission did have some signs that Hayes gifted to them, so there may be still a few in the office.
Okay. If you could maybe take a photo of one of those and send it around to us, Judy, that would be helpful.
Yeah, we have like, we had like 50 of those things because they were using them up at Edgewater.
Oh.
And we had them put them on granite posts because the wood rots. And then once it rots, no one puts the fence back up.
Yeah, I have some of those signs, so I can send those around, and then, or we could decide if those are fine or if they want to find a new one.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you do want to keep signs up there.
I'm not sure we'd ask for granite posts particularly, but especially since the area that we're talking about would be at the edge of buffer rather than the edge of, in the water of the wetland like it is at Edgewater. But I'll be interested to see the signs. We can talk about it from there.
The signs are small, just like Elaine said. They're probably 4 inches by 4 inches, and you could set them the granite mound, use like John would have a granite mound that you could just show the top of the granite mound. So you get an end view at 4x4 and put the stamp on top. Ask John if he thinks that's reasonable. He would know.
Have you run into that before, John?
We have had cases, not typically if we use a granite post, it's not like a fence that gets installed. It's just granite posts get either set close to flush to the ground, or they sit up a couple of feet. But there's not an actual fence that runs between the granite posts. That's what I've seen in the past.
Okay. I mean, we talked about the idea of a fence at the site last week, and Joe wasn't averse to the idea of fencing it. He thought he'd probably try to straighten out the line rather than following the actual boundary at the edge of the buffer, at the edge of the 25-foot buffer. I guess the next step probably is to deal with do you have a presentation on the proposed project yet, Joe, that you want to make tonight?
I have what's shown on John's plan, which we discussed, where we staked out the foundation. I mean, it was pretty straightforward. Foundations, like 30 by 60, and the 2 retention ponds on each side. I know you mentioned something during the other conversation about how far back you'd be going into the wetland. I definitely would not be crossing that 25-foot line, and would probably be even less. And then any debris from the site or any excavation from the site is going to be coming out of that area past the 100-foot buffer where the existing house is. Any a lot of the existing foundation holes just going to go fill in that hole.
Right.
So there's not like there's going to be piles of dirt and material on site. And once again, you saw the site. There's really no vegetation that's going to be disturbed.
And you actually have deeded access to that site, Joe? I was looking at
I do. I have a easement.
Okay.
And Mr. McGreal did a finding for me, and that was taken care of.
Okay.
And I actually have, I've spoke to the building department and engineering, and they actually have all the necessary paperwork. We just, engineers working on some other stuff on the property. We gotta wait to hear back from them.
I mean, it looks from my sense of the site visit, it's pretty straightforward site.
I had done something similar, and Mr. Luciani was on the board back then. I don't know if you remember Jim, 102 New Salem Street, next across from Laurie's 909. I did that project there, and the board was pretty happy with the way it turned out.
I don't remember that, but
Other questions from commissioners or comments, clarifications? In general, having walked the site and seen what you're proposing, I don't have issues with the proposal. I think the staking was quite helpful. You talked, Joe, briefly the other night about perhaps shifting the orientation of the building slightly. Have you done that, or are you going to leave it as it is?
No, we're going to leave everything as shown on the plan.
Okay. All right. Jennifer, Eleanor, anything additional to ask?
I don't think. I mean, currently there's a lot of exposed soil on the site, and so I think it will be good when it's all, done. And hopefully, the lawn that you put in outside of the 25-foot will help to suppress some of the, invasive plants that are coming in there.
I tend to put in a lot of trees. I don't know if you look at past projects, and I think I mentioned that before, so I think there'll be plenty of plantings,
The tree lines will be moving in towards the building eventually.
absolutely.
Okay. Do we,
Do we have anyone from the public?
just wondering. The only member of the public I see is Bronwyn. Do you have anything, Bronwyn, on this one?
And then one more question. I think this was said at the site visit, but the grading for the parking lot is away from the parking lot, right? Or the parking spaces, it goes away from the wetland.
The parking spaces are gonna be where the existing house is, or that foundation is,
Mm-hmm.
and that grade and everything should pretty much stay the same, correct, John?
Yeah, maybe it would help if I share my screen. That's okay.
Go ahead.
So, I mean, if you call walking out there, essentially the grade comes down from Nahan Street down all the way back to the wetlands in the rear. So we're not shedding away from the wetlands. We can't bring it back towards Nahan. But the idea was that this paved area for the parking and the driveway would be collected into this Barracuda system, and then that would discharge into this infiltration basin, and then eventually it would discharge to the wetlands.
Right, okay. Yeah, thank you.
I think we talked about developing an O&M plan for the, or does Barracuda have a recommended plan for what's your expectation there?
Yeah, I believe that was submitted as part of the filing.
Okay.
You can double check that, but yeah, there was an operation maintenance plan submitted along with a long-term pollution prevention plan.
Okay.
And, you know, one of the components was the Barracuda that's
Right.
referenced in there.
John, where's that? I saw the level spreader outlet protection there. Where is the level spreader going to be? Is that going to be on the larger pond?
Yeah, we're not proposing a level spreader on this one.
Okay.
The flows are pretty minor that's coming out. Just kind of,
Essentially, stormwater is going to move to from the parking area into the Barracuda, be discharged to the pond nearest the Barracuda, I presume, and the parking area. Am I correct with that?
there's a small discharge, there's a small pipe from the Barracuda into the end of the infiltration basin that's furthest from the wetlands. So it's gonna be running, you know, through the basin before it actually discharges.
Okay.
But like I said, the flows that we're talking about are very, very small. I can,
I think, John, the only thing I was thinking about the site visit was snow storage.
If you look where those 4 proposed parking spaces are,
Okay.
up in front of that, there's plenty of room there for snow storage well outside the 100-foot buffer.
In front of that, you mean closer to Nahant Street?
if you look where, the lot comes in and it goes at an angle, that area right in that area, which would be a grass vegetated area, somewhere around there. Or even actually in front of the parking spaces too, I have, room for snow. And even on the other side, I have,
To the right of the parking area as we look at the plan.
right to the
Oh, it-
left, to the right, but
But where you where your label says proposed water service,
exactly
that area where the
to the
label
left of
sits
that,
is
right to the
down
left
Okay.
of
to,
that.
is level ground that you could use for storage is what I'm hearing you say.
There's,
Like
yeah,
that's
there's, yeah, there
80,
is,
86, 87 feet, so it's pretty close to the same elevations.
yeah, there's
Okay.
plenty of space there. Doesn't seem to snow like it used to either.
That is absolutely true.
Yeah. No, I was just concerned, sometimes if you hire a contractor, it would be tempting to just shovel it, to the end into that detention pond.
No, there'll be vegetation and trees down there too that,
Okay.
I wouldn't want disrupted by
Oh.
carrying under piles of snow.
Okay. I mean, I think we can probably we discussed the idea of the fence and it seemed like you didn't have any problem with the fence. And perhaps some kind of small signage. We'll see what we have on hand. We'll forward that to you, but otherwise, I think we're pretty much settled on this one. Would you, my colleagues agree?
Yes.
Okay. Do we want to make a motion to move this to the next stage of issuing an order of conditions?
I think we have to
Hearing.
close.
We need to close the meeting first, close the hearing first. You're right. Thank you. And then move on in order. Anything further on the hearing? See that Jimmy has dropped off. So we're essentially just,
Yes, I make a motion to close the public hearing for 44 Nahant Street. DEP 313653.
okay. Jennifer, will you second?
I'll second that.
Thanks. All in favor, Eleanor,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So the hearing is closed. Can we move to authorizing Ethan to develop an OOC at this point? I think we can.
Order of conditions.
Yes. Anything?
I think besides the split rail fence, was there anything else we were thinking we wanted to add?
I don't think we came up with anything at the site visit, did we?
So currently with the snow, well, I mean, I guess this discussion's over, right? Because we've closed the public hearing.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I was just wondering if it makes sense to have is there already a condition in the standard conditions about snow storage? It's probably actually, where do you store snow now?
I've only owned it for about a year and,
Mhm.
drive over it, push it to the side. I mean, I do my own snow removal of
Mhm.
properties. And like I said, just depending on what snow, if it was a significant snow, I have a little loader and it would pile just where it showed that water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I'm not gonna pile anything down near the house because I don't want any more water or stuff
Mhm.
toward the house too. Freezing, so anything would be off to that left side, I think would probably be the best area. if I had
Mhm.
a big storm there,
Right.
maybe a little to the right, but it's just been, I've snowplowed for years, and it's just been since the mid-90s since we had a real storm to worry about, it seems like.
Well, with the way it's graded, it's not gonna, it won't go towards Nahat, it sounds like. But
No, definitely
probably
not.
the goal is just to have it be as far away from the wetlands as realistic.
I'll go to Jordan's very nice Barracuda he put in.
Okay, but that won't remove salt.
John, that collects the sediment, correct? I usually don't even salt, but if there was sand or salt,
It removes some salt. That's not its primary purpose. The primary purpose is basically removing suspended solids.
yeah, okay.
Mhm.
But if it gets collected through the Barracuda, it will end up in the infiltration pond, and that will end up going through the soil as opposed to discharging directly to the wetlands.
Mhm.
Do you guys want to look at the setbacks in the order of conditions to get specific setbacks in there?
Yeah, we probably should do that.
I'm just curious, do we need to do this tonight, or could we do this at a next meeting?
You can do it whenever, I guess. I figured we'd set this straight since we're here tonight, and I know Jennifer just asked about the snow storage, so we can decide on a number on that one at least.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like the areas that Joe was talking about are, for the most part, outside of the 100-foot buffer.
Yeah. Are you thinking anything above 25 feet for soil and other materials? I know they talked about not having anything within 100 feet, but what would you prefer to have here?
Given
Is 25 foot the standard?
I always thought it was like 50 feet.
Usually it just varies by site. Usually we have 25 or 50. But yeah, we can go start at 50 and go from there. Because they'll have the fence at the 25-foot mark as well, to solidify that setback.
Right. Dumping of landscape debris is the other one that,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I would suggest we move that to 50 as well.
And snow, you could say 100 like you talked about, or just 50. Keep it simple.
I mean, I think the areas Joe's talking about are at the 100-foot,
Mhm.
for the most part outside of 100 feet.
Yeah.
And it would actually be harder. It would be hard to get that much closer than,
Mhm.
yeah.
How about like 80 feet, just so we're not, just so they can get right up to the buffer without causing issues if they have to.
Mhm.
It's fine.
And then I had like a draft condition for the fence. We can always edit this. For the fence at the buffer to be maintained, as well as having a sign there as well.
Yeah. I like that.
It's fine.
The only other one I was thinking about, and maybe we want to think about making it a standard condition, is management of invasives. Maybe it's just thinking about that not introducing new invasives during the construction process and making sure they're removed.
Sure. So don't introduce new invasives to the
I mean,
site.
I think we have to get a good example of how to word that, Elaine. I don't know what you're doing.
You know,
These,
I remember we talked about this, and I guess the question is there knotweed on the property now?
no,
And then the knotweed should be removed and continue to be removed. I think we have an order like that for another project, Ethan.
Hmm.
And let me see if I can find it, but Eleanor makes a good point. Maybe we should think about introducing some kind of condition about knotweed control on private property and start the process of getting this knotweed under control.
Would that be best as a standard condition or just when it comes up, do you think?
I think that knotweed is coming up all over town. I think
yeah,
it's a good standard condition.
I
'Cause
didn't
it's gonna-
notice any at this site, so Joe's actually starting with a reasonably clean slate, but
Yeah.
yeah, I would agree, we'd want to see it managed.
How
So
does weed get introduced into, like, say, a property like mine? Where would knotweed come from? From bringing in soil from somewhere else, or?
yeah,
Yeah, because
unfortunately, that's one of the things we've seen is we were just discussing that with, I think, Brian McGrail talked about a litigation that's happened here in the state because landowners ended up with, or property purchasers ended up with knotweed on their land as a result of the fill that had been brought in during the construction process.
right, I've seen a lot of it on North Ave, and I see them moving around, Phil.
yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And
So,
nothing I prefer to have.
right.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess one thing for us to think about too is Joe has a pretty good sized parcel. It's preferable, like if you have to do regrading or whatever, to use the existing fill you have as opposed to importing. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, as I mentioned on the side, I don't know if I am gonna, that used to be a farm years ago, so there's a good 12, 18 inches of nice topsoil, so I'm gonna scrape off where the existing house is going, and that'll be once again stockpiled out where the existing house is in that area outside the 100-foot buffer, and that'll be used back as my topsoil.
okay,
But I am aware, be careful where the fill comes from. If I
Yeah.
don't- me.
and sometimes it's in the truck, like in truck
Yeah, I can imagine.
wheels and things like that.
Right.
and
So a condition on knotweed would probably need to be a condition in perpetuity or like a permanent condition.
That would, I think
Because there's
that
a good,
could be,
there's going to
but that
be a
would
lot
be,
of new knotweed coming up over the next few years based on just the amount that's out there right now.
yeah, unfortunately. Ethan or Elaine, have you seen a good knotweed condition? Have you developed one, Elaine?
not off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's one that's been done recently.
Yeah, Ethan, I think we've got one in a conservation restriction on, I can't remember the address now, but I've made a note in my file, and I'll forward it to you via your email.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it would be good to it sounds like Joe doesn't have an issue with having something that causes him to manage invasives. I mean, from what you say, Joe, you're going to be trying to do more plantings on the property.
Right, and I am aware of, the invasives, and I see it. I mean, I sell building material for a living, and I go to different sites, and I know exactly what knotweed is.
Yeah, and it's becoming,
Seems to be, yeah.
Yeah, it's becoming a plague. It's also really good at crowding out sapling trees too, from what I'm seeing in a lot of places.
Right, and the way that it's managed might depend on whether it's adjacent to a wetland or not.
Right.
So we wouldn't necessarily want to be telling people to treat it in a way that's going to be harmful to a wetland if it's on a wetland.
Yeah. But where we are here, I think the fact that Joe doesn't have it yet at his site is a reason to include a condition that just looks prospectively at the question. Okay. So we will add something like that. Once, again, Ethan and Elaine, once you've found one, could you circulate it to the three of us?
Yep.
And then we'll add that. Can we, John and Joe, can we hold this till our next meeting to come to final language on that with that question? But assume that we're good with everything else here.
I think John tried to save me some money and left. I don't see him here anymore.
No, he's still here.
Is he still here?
Muted.
Fat chance of that.
No, I'm still here.
Okay. Personally, I have no problem with you adding that kind of language. But I would like to wrap it up tonight if possible.
Okay.
Um,
Well, we can ask staff to add an invasive management condition in addition to the post and rail fence condition that we've added here. And with that, we can approve the order of conditions on that basis, I guess.
I would appreciate that.
Okay. Any reason, any concerns from Eleanor or Jennifer on that? Okay. Then I'm going to ask for a motion to approve an order of conditions as we got it drafted here.
Motion to approve the order of conditions with the two special conditions noted here.
And the dimensions as we have them here. Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor? Jennifer?
Yes.
Eleanor?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. Joe, John, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Hey, thank
For your time
you.
on Friday as well.
Have a good night.
Thank
Good
you.
Okay. Now we are on to other business. Clyde Court. Don't see the homeowner on the meeting.
Nobody's coming for that one, but I could sort of walk you through it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yep. So with this development that was done a few years ago, one of the conditions was to implement a conservation restricted area, as well as a fence that goes around it. I'll share my screen here in a second. So the homeowner now is looking to remove that fence. That's what they're requesting of us today.
Is the certificate of compliance issued for this already?
So I saw that it was voted to be issued, but I don't see that it ever was issued. That did come up in my research that I saw.
Can you share your screen? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now.
Thank you.
So this area highlighted in yellow was designated as conservation restricted. So that's all set. That's currently in place. And then there's a fence around the perimeter of that. So that area includes a bit of the wetland as well as a 25-foot buffer. And that restricted area as well as the fence was in the order of conditions at the time.
How close is that fence to the house there, Ethan? Can you? tell us what those dimensions are? Because I can't
I
read
don't
them.
see the exact dimensions. It was very close.
Are
I
those the
recall.
two dimensions below it? L2 and L3?
I can't quite read what they say.
One of them is, they're both lat long, but they also have distance, 11.71 feet and 7 point, I can't read that. It's pretty,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna guess that those must be the distances off the house.
Potentially, it does look like it's quite a bit shorter than 7 feet from the
Yeah.
house. Um,
Yeah,
Did you
having
visit?
driven by it and looked at it, I don't think it's 7 feet off the house there, frankly.
no, I
That's
didn't
why-
visit. Just by looking at the images online.
Yeah,
Um, this is in my neighborhood. Is it did she send you photos of the knotweed?
No, I don't believe I
and
did get photos.
and despite her statement to the contrary, her statement says that it's town land behind her. It is not.
Correct.
So this is all private property. She's dealing with a private landowner on the other side of whose property opens onto the next street over.
Yeah, I think actually two properties.
Could
Oh,
well be.
yeah.
But the reality is the town has no particular responsibility here for the knotweed or any of the lands there.
Correct. I think once she understood that, she sort of moved past the knotweed discussion and was more focused on the fence.
Yeah.
I think she understands now that it's her responsibility, or whoever owns the land it's on, to take care of the knotweed.
Well, this is sort of the same thing as we're asking of Joe Tavano at on Nahant Street, which is a fence that delineates the buffer and wetland.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think the fence was put in there probably following some more discussion, and put in for good reason too.
Is that I think that's a man-made wetland. Was it a replication area?
There's a man-made wetland to the right of, as we look at this, Eleanor, to the right, there's a rain garden in that area down there.
Okay.
But there's really no, the wetland behind the house, I think, is actually a natural wetland.
Wetland, okay.
I think it's actually mostly treed.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm not aware of knotweed there, but I can't, obviously.
I haven't, I drove
You
by
can't-
it and slowed down to take a look at the property. I haven't walked over there to look more closely from the street. But I didn't really notice whether there was knotweed or not, because it's forested right up to the yard where they've done plantings, actually. And the plantings have, behind the fence, have gotten pretty well established.
Mhm. And what kind of fence is it? Why is it?
The white split rail fence.
So yeah, this was the initial planting, with the fence.
And those plantings are pretty well settled at this point. They've spread out pretty well.
And then this was the wetland here. You see the dashed lines. And then the 25-foot buffer goes around that, covering most of this area. It's a very small wetlands there, but it's all vegetated right now.
It's so, but I presume the wetland then goes back into the woods behind on the other property, the adjacent property.
Yes, most likely, yeah. Because that's definitely more wooded than this would be.
Yeah.
And so the current order of conditions doesn't require the property owner to remove knotweed, right?
I'll take a look at that. I know it requires them to maintain the area. I'll see what that says here.
I don't think we've yet spent a lot of time on knotweeds or invasive invasives generally. I think it's something we probably need to pay more attention to in our conditions.
Right. But I think as Ethan is saying, potentially there's something about maintaining the planting plan.
Planting plan probably is part of the OOC.
Mhm.
Well, that predates me on the commission, I believe, by just a little bit.
I think you were there at the time, Paul, but
I
it
was.
was, I think, November 2023,
Oh, was it that recently? Okay, then I was, yeah.
or at least that. No, never mind. That was the certificate of compliance that time. So maybe you weren't there.
Yeah. I don't remember the condition. I don't remember Clyde Court coming up. Since I've been on it, but I could be mistaken.
I guess I'm trying to understand how the fence impedes her managing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, certainly if you're hiring a bunch of landscapers, you know, with weed whackers, yes, that would impede them, and that's the purpose. But I guess I don't have enough understanding of the issue here with what's been sent to kind of undo a.
Let's continue on down in the conditions. I don't see a fence yet.
Oh, the fence is at the bottom.
A fence vinyl. Okay, a vinyl fence.
Yeah.
Okay. So essentially,
so there's nothing about invasives. It doesn't look like.
Yeah.
Okay, but I did find the part about maintaining plantings in perpetuity. Condition 65, which is listed as one of the perpetual conditions,
Right.
is you know, the purpose of this condition is to preserve the 25-foot buffer area, including the native plant species and wildlife habitat. And then it lists some sub-conditions, including B, these plantings shall be maintained in perpetuity by the property owner.
Right.
I mean, it depends if the knotweed is crowding out other plants, you know, in a way that would make it impossible to maintain the current plantings. And I would expect that it either is or eventually will.
Well,
Can we visit, or can one of us go visit? Again, I would feel uncomfortable undoing what
so
a
do I.
previous commission had made a perpetual condition, you know, certainly without looking at the site and given the proximity to other neighbors.
I can see if they would be open to a site visit. Yeah.
You know, it's unfortunately the language is badly written because the fence vinyl shall be erected around the easement area referenced in condition 65, but it's really not an easement, is it? It's a
Oh,
They
restricted
do
area.
have official conservation easement and restriction agreement.
Oh, there
Yeah.
is a restricted covenant easement and agreement. Okay, all right.
actually, that's a good point. So I think technically we can go, if you looked at the easement, the language is that basically the Conservation Commission could go in to look at it or inspect it to be sure that it's being maintained. I don't want, yeah, go on.
I mean, I wouldn't recommend just going there.
No. You reach out, that'd be terrible.
Yeah, I mean, we do have that right according to this easement language, but
Yeah.
I don't think I would agree. I wouldn't want to just show up and walk on because we have this.
Yeah, Ethan, if you could reach out to her and, or we could arrange a site visit. I think we just want to understand a little bit more what the hurdle is, and, if it really makes sense to undo what a previous conservation commission has deemed important in perpetuity.
I would agree.
And then, Elaine, do we have an inventory of properties with easements like this? Or Judy?
No, there isn't one. There aren't very many of them.
Okay, we should start one.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything further on this one? Sounds like our next.
No, not for me.
Take a look at it and decide whether we want to let the fence come down or not.
Yep.
The town forest. Elaine, the materials you put together were pretty comprehensive. Thank you.
You're welcome. So the reason I put them together, and there are two, the one for the town forest, and then I think, Ethan, did you send the other one for 2 Arundel?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you should have received 2 of them. And the reason those 2 go together is that they're both listed as parcels in the Board of Assessors database as just town-owned land foreclosure properties. But each one was dedicated to open space purposes by a previous town meeting. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to have you look this over, see if you're okay with it, see if you want any changes on it, and then take this information to the town council and simply ask them to correct the error and have the information recorded at the Board of Assessors office. And the reason why I think it should be recorded there is it's the most easily accessible information on town-owned land on the town website. So I found when I started looking for information on the town forest, I was going back into town reports, going back into the 1930s to find that town meeting vote. And that's too much to ask anybody going forward. And once this is done, in another 20 years, that information will be lost again. So my thought was to take this information, give it to town council and ask them to rectify the error, basically, in the Board of Assessors database. Because
So
when I started this, we thought that it had never been taken for public purposes. But then when I started to dig a little bit deeper, I found out that in fact it was. We just need to coordinate our databases. One of the things I'm finding as I go through the open space plan is we have a lot of databases in town, all of which are in silos. And I'd like to start putting something together. I'm in the process of putting some things together whereby these databases can start connecting so that we have a central location where different boards who are looking for different uses of town-owned lands can go to one central one central database and discover, well, this is land that is protected in perpetuity, not just plain tax foreclosure land, as it is listed in the Board of Assessors office.
So should we present this to town council SEL before presenting it to the entire town council?
The town forest parcel, the one that you referenced is incorrect. The one that they designated for town forest was since developed. The 1937 town meeting, the annual report listed the actual town forest parcel, the 44 acres. When they did the follow-up report later that year, they came up with a different parcel that was turned into Galvin Circle and Brant Circle. It was sold off. That was supposed to be conveyed as town forest. It never was, and it was since developed. So the parcel that is known as town forest, which is right behind Maple Way, the 44 acres, was never conveyed as a town forest.
It was strictly taken as tax title
Tax
property?
title, that's all they did. They voted to take it as tax title and that was it. And then I'm guessing the committee that they appointed to review it decided to, I don't know if that parcel that they looked at was privately owned or if that was tax title. They chose a different parcel, which was at parcel 16 that I sent to you. And now that was developed in the 80s. There's one piece of tax title left on that. But they never conveyed the actual town forest parcel. So I think the first couple of pages of Elaine's information about the wildlife corridor, the different values in there, the ACEC, I think that's more than enough information to bring to town council and ask that it be put under whatever protection, whether it's under parks, so that they can maintain it. But I don't really see that they'd have a problem putting a level of protection on it. But you want to go to them with the right information.
Yeah. Judy, can I just share my screen quickly, the assessor's map of the two parcels?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me see. That might help. So this is the 44 acres here. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Then this is the other parcel you were talking about.
That's the only undeveloped parcel, right?
Right. But it looks like it's part
Arundel,
of.
or is that not Arundel?
It isn't. When you look at the information I sent you, they're different plats.
Yeah, plats.
Okay.
Did you send attachments?
Yes.
Oh, why can't I
And I
not see
sent them all
that?
right up this afternoon of the whole outlining everything.
I saw your outline, but I couldn't tell if you had sent.
So where Brant Circle is, this whole square that's outlined is parcel 16. And that's what's referenced in the later town meeting of the 1937 annual report. The
Right.
plat, I think it's 45, which is town forest, was what was originally discussed. And that's when they decided to table it and have a committee look at it. And they must have come up with a different parcel and voted to convey it, and they never did. And then it was sold and developed.
Okay.
So the parcel that's outlined now in red.
Yes.
As town forest park, is in fact owned by the town, held under tax title at this point.
Correct.
And the parcel immediately to the south, which is currently outlined in green, was acquired for
No. This
No?
entire, if you go down further, like Brant Circle,
Yes, see it.
that whole plat was the parcel that was conveyed, that was supposed to be conveyed. So
And never
the
was.
number 7 that isn't developed is the only part that remained undeveloped.
Okay, and who owns and controls that?
That's tax title,
Yes.
That's also a tax title parcel.
right?
But
So,
isn't that, sorry, go on. Go, Paul.
so it would seem to me that what we would want to do is see the town forest parcel and that parcel together handed over to as officially town forest park, and to get
Right,
the
and I-
97 part protection that
Right,
we want to see happen.
right.
Because it looks like all of this is town forest, no?
And what about that land that's shown in green to the right? Is that also town
That's
land?
August.
That's
That's
Saugus, yeah.
That said Saugus. Okay, then
Yeah.
obviously stop. Thank you.
But you can walk across,
Right. It's
The
not like
property
someone has a
in-
fence up or something, right?
no, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it seems to me that that should be our ask of town council, is to move these two large parcels from tax title to park.
Elaine, I think you were proposing part, like, to go back to thing, to the Parks Department to be consistent with the
Board of
language.
Assessors record be brought up to date and list the parcels as protected parkland, not as land held in title foreclosure. Right.
Yes, that's right.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense to me. How do we do this? We send a letter to the town council asking them to do it, or is it enough to ask the Board of Assessors to correct their records?
There's not anything there's nothing to correct though. Because the parcel that they voted to convey as town forest is the one that was developed.
Okay, right.
You can't do anything about that now.
No, okay.
I think just a letter to town council. I mean, this has been talked about forever. It's not going to come as a surprise to them.
Okay. So the letter to town council should ask them to take these two parcels as parkland under Article 97.
Right.
Remove them from the
Tax title.
tax title list and move them to be held as parkland. So then they'd have Article 97 protection. Okay. Who can draft that for us?
Well, Elaine has the first two letters of her package had all the information on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Then
I wasn't sure if it would be helpful to include the plats with it.
You could, I don't.
Not helpful.
No, I think it's fine. I think it's easy enough to just, I mean, the map is very easily navigable,
Okay.
but I mean, that's fine to do.
And then I guess the only other thing with this is I had sent Elaine some language from the Wakefield bylaws. Or sorry, I shouldn't say Wakefield bylaws. It's the Wakefield, give me a second. The town bylaws, I guess. For the definitions, you know, of open space land set aside for conservation and shall be maintained in a natural state and used for the following purposes only. You know, and we can see if any of those definitions work. Unless there's, Elaine, if you think town forest has enough meaning in and of
We don't-
itself.
You know, I can always add it. It's another weight on that side of the scale.
Okay,
So it doesn't become like a BMX bike course or.
Well, usually if it's under passive recreation, that seems to be the
Yeah.
standard. And biking would be allowed anyways. by
Yeah.
investigated.
right.
No, I just mean like developing like a course or.
Yeah,
And Elaine, I thought I don't know if it's helpful or not, but certainly for the presentation, I think I'd seen a map that was developed by Linda that showed the different,
They're talking about the town forest.
yes, yes.
Let's see.
That had the
There's a
different,
map. There's a map. There is a map in there taken from Mass GIS. And then there's another one taken from, there's two. And then there's another one taken from the Board of Assessors.
Right.
I think she had done one of the plant communities.
Oh, that would be the information from Linda Ireland
Yeah.
regarding plant communities. Yeah, but that's not a map.
Oh,
Is it? I think it's just a list of it's a list of forest habitats prepared
okay.
by Walter Kitteridge in 2025, and it shows the different types of wildlife habitats that are in there, with the idea that it demonstrates how valuable a mix
Mhm.
of habitats there are located within that one small parcel.
Mhm.
Oh, right. That's at the it's attachment 8 to what you prepared.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, I guess I'd ask Elaine if you can update this to reflect both of these parcels. And then we would forward it to the town council with a request that they update their designation of the property from tax title property to town forest park.
Okay, and
Officially.
what I'll do is I will talk to Cherry Dalton,
Okay,
who our agenda together, and talk to her about the best way to do that.
great, thank you.
You're welcome. And then in addition to that, there's the other parcel, which is to Arundel.
Mhm.
Where is that? Is that on this map here? That we
Nope.
No?
Oh, yes, yes. Sorry.
Where would it be, Eleanor?
Think about this.
It's actually right below where your cursor. It's the one
Is this-
below that. It's below that to the left.
This one. Let me zoom back out.
To Arundel, yeah, I see that.
Yeah, so this is the Maple Way Playground,
Right,
which is developed. And then this is to
that's
Arundel
to
Ave.
Arundel, which the town actually purchased.
Correct. And
That was going to be recreation.
yes,
Does the town own the parcel to its east?
no, but here?
The
No.
next one, that one.
No, but we should.
there's a house on that lot, I think.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
yes.
well, I'm not going to try to fuss
No,
about that.
no. But
Right. Now,
if
so let's talk about to Arundel then. It's town land. It was
Mhm.
acquired for the purposes of recreation. Is it ever going to be developed for that?
It's on the housing list. I've been cross-referencing the tax title properties list to the parcels that are proposed for housing. And one of the parcels that shows up on both lists is to Arundel. So the housing authority or the housing board, whatever they are, possibly did not have access to this same information.
No,
So
I
if they're
don't think they looked, I don't think they looked at these parcels because they have a couple that are under commission, under the care and custody of the commission, a couple of them are parking lots. I think they just looked at areas where development was possible. I don't think they referenced the assessors maps. Because
Okay.
I sent a list to Erin and there were other ones that.
All right, but
that
they
also-
haven't deleted, they haven't bypassed this lot either. So there, I saw that, and my concern was that without someone drawing attention to 2 Arundel, this could continue to go forward as a parcel for housing. If people don't realize that it was purchased for a different purpose, and therefore has protections from town meeting and Article 97 as a result of that town meeting vote and purchase.
Yes, so to me, this one seems like an error because we have a clear, a town meeting that happened where the vote was, and you can walk us, actually, it probably helps you to walk us through these elements, Elaine. But this
All
one
right.
seemed, yeah, if you want to do that.
Okay, so actually, in all fairness, I'm reading what Eleanor sent to me, and there's the annual report of the town officers on November 5th, 2001, where they talk about to see if the town will vote to acquire by gift, purchase, and/or eminent domain for recreational purposes a certain parcel of land, including the structures thereon erected, generally described as 2 Arundel Avenue. And it was voted in favor. And so it should be.
Does recreation purpose have the same standing as for park purpose?
I do believe it does because it's set aside for public purposes. So the.
But isn't that something that they could say?
But it's not housing. It's not housing.
Put up a soccer field, something like that. So that's what I'm talking about recreation wise. Because they had talked about that before.
Well, that is possible if it is
bought it.
recreation, but it certainly is not housing.
No, no, I know.
In my mind, it's open space. And while I would personally, love to conserve it, it seems like the clear intent of the voters was to acquire it for recreational purposes. Whether the town develops it, for that, I'm not sure. But I do think it makes sense to give it the status that is appropriate and reflects the town vote at the time.
Yeah, exactly. And get that listed.
And I think
there can be a designation, and see if there can be a designation, I think, in the Board of Assessors database, which is a different question. But it seems to me that if you're going to start taking land that is held for public purpose and have it remain as a public purpose under Article 97, that should be located somewhere, and it isn't. And that's where we have the problem we have now. So I think the best place to record that would be the Board of Assessors database. It seems to be the centrally located database for finding out about parcels.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a different issue about how it's listed in the Board of Assessors database. But as I said, we've got so many databases that don't talk to each other.
Right. I mean, it seems like at least the initial step here should be for there to be a correction to indicate that this was acquired for recreational purposes and needs to remain in that. It's not something that can be considered for housing or other purposes, since town meeting said it was supposed to be for recreation. I presume it was an attempt to expand the Maple Way playground area.
Yes. And to be fair, there are probably a number of newspaper articles from that time that I could add to the package, that, you know, basically also kind of convey the intent and the thought process at the time, because this was pretty recent.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not held in tax title, it's held by the Board of Selectmen, and according to the deed, for recreational purposes. But that's not any kind of designation in our assessor's database today that I'm aware of.
So again, the objective here is to get that modification made to the assessor's database, so it's clear that it's town-owned land that's held for recreational purposes.
Right, and would require 2/3 vote to.
2/3 vote of the state legislature. Seems like that's a high hurdle, relatively speaking, a high hurdle. Right?
I think,
and is that the hurdle for Article 97?
Right.
Okay.
Well, they did it for the energy park.
Did they?
Yeah. I think they argued, since it was being held for park purposes, an energy park was consistent with park.
Oh my.
I mean, that might not have been the formal ruling, but I did remember being told that by the attorney.
So is there, in order for the legislature to vote that as Article 97, does it have to have evidence that it's been designated in perpetuity already? Because I'm looking at the language of the vote, and the vote doesn't say in perpetuity, but my understanding is that's required for Article 97.
Is it?
That's my understanding. That might be something we need to clarify, but
I don't think, I'm reading Article 97, which is in Elaine's packet at page 16. And lands or easements taken or acquired for such purposes shall not be used for other purposes or otherwise disposed of except by laws enacted by a 2/3 vote of each branch of the general court, which means the state house and the state senate. But there's nothing about it needing to be called out as being in perpetuity that I could read here. The rest of it's sort of somewhat fuzzy language about the rights of the people to clean air, water, etc., and the natural, scenic, historic, and aesthetic qualities of their environment. So
I don't think you need a 2/3 vote of each house of the state legislature to declare something a public park.
no,
You needed 2/3 of the general court to take it out of Article 97, but
that's
not
right. That's right. That's what I was reading. That's exactly what that says, Elaine. Yeah, it's only to take it out, not to put it in. Put it in, I think the town just gets around to redesignating it as recreational land and it gets it appropriately recorded. I think that may be sufficient. Same thing with the town forest and the adjacent parcel 7 there.
Is that something that we could get Attorney Mullen to just confirm whether it requires a statement of in perpetuity for Article 97? Because my impression, and again, maybe I'm misremembering, is that that's often sort of a weakness where lands that people think are protected are not.
It's probably worth asking him.
Thing I would ask of Tom Mullen would be to see that there's a document that's drawn up at the Registry of Deeds. So if you want to confirm this vote of town council, it would be recorded at the Registry of Deeds. So I can certainly talk to Tom about it.
Okay. If you can follow up on all of these, then we'll figure out how best to proceed and keep this process moving. So maybe we can get the all three of these pieces of property protected.
Okay.
I was actually pleasantly surprised to see how much of a green corridor we actually have down there.
Yeah, we have a lot of nice green corridors. I've been
Yeah.
looking over, and that's part of the next part of the phase of the work I'll be doing. We have a lot of nice green corridors and large green areas I'd like to see protected if we can do it.
Yeah, I agree. That would be a good result. Okay. So you'll follow up with Sherry and Tom Mullen then, Elaine, and let us know.
Yeah.
Next time. Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Elaine, thank you for including all that, the Article 97 stuff in your package.
Oh, you're welcome. It's good for people to know, I think.
Yeah.
You know, just a general philosophy. We do a lot of development. It's good to know the philosophy behind preservation.
Yeah. Absolutely. The last item is Town Day, September 27th. I presume we will have, Ethan, did you get any more clarity on when it's happening?
Yes, it's 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. on that 27th.
1 to 4 p.m. Oh,
Is it down at the lake?
I believe it's at the same spot. I can confirm.
Lower Common is, I think.
That's at the common. Yep.
I figure I'll plan to attend. I'm hoping we can use this as a recruiting mechanism to see if we can bring in potential members as part of this.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I'm around that
Not
weekend.
trying to grab anybody and drag them over to sign up, but at least see if we can, are you available? And either of you, Eleanor or Jennifer, do you want to join in? Ethan, will you be
Yeah,
coming?
I could. Yeah, I think it would also be good to have maybe a sign just alerting people that there's a wetlands bylaw being developed so they can keep an eye out. Even people just walking by the table could see that.
Yeah, and maybe have some text available for them to look at if they want to, or copies of it to
Yeah, right.
look at, to take away, consider. No, that's a good idea. Okay, so
I think
that's-
Ethan went last year. How much traffic did you get?
it was
Yeah, I
pouring
went
rain
with
last
Jim
year.
last
Oh, it
year.
was-
It was
it was-
raining a lot, but we got, I think, a good amount. I think that's sort of the place you'll find people who would be interested in joining. Given that it's like a community event and all different groups are there.
So do we get, do we have to actually prepare a sign and table and all, or does the town prepare that? What do we do here?
It's the Chamber of Commerce. They give you a table and
They give us a table.
they designate the area with all the, you'll be next to Planning Board and Board of Appeals.
Okay,
And it'll just say Conservation Commission on the front. It'll just be a little piece of paper.
okay. And then if we want to have anything to hand out, we'd need to
You bring that, yeah.
bring that along. So we'd need some copies of the wetland bylaw and
I
maybe,
think you're better off just putting a link. I don't know how many people, I mean, the last time we had handouts, no one took them.
okay,
Yeah, I made
I'm looking for a
I
link
think
to
I
the
made
website.
two. Sorry. I made 2 flyers for the last event. I might still have those. I think one was about the bylaw and one was about joining the commission. So
Mhm.
those had some QR codes and some text. I can pull those back up.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, probably updated, yeah, QR codes to link to our stuff.
Mm.
Makes sense.
That's true, because the town's changed its web addresses.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Ethan, could you send those over? I'd just like to take a look. Thanks.
Yep. I might only have one of them,
Okay,
but I can always make some more.
that'd be great.
Mhm.
I mean, you can send me a scan or whatever, that's fine. Electronic's easier for me to process than, a paper copy anyway, so.
Yeah. I meant so I mentioned the 2 flyers. I might only have made one, but I can always make depending on what topics we want, I could make a new flyer. Yeah.
Okay, great.
I think Jimmy last year had a map blown up of all the open spaces. Do you guys still have that?
Yes, I think I do.
Okay, I think that would be a good thing to have.
That would be, yeah.
Yeah, I saw it last week. I should still have it.
Well, that would be good. All right, so we have a contingent to go to this, and let's hope we can manage to do some recruiting.
I
Any
think
other
we,
thoughts on
yeah.
this?
I think we can't talk to each other in the booth.
We can talk to each other. We just can't talk about anything pending.
Yeah.
As long as we're not talking about that business, we're fine. And it's not like we have a lot of public watching us right now, is it? Anyway, okay. Anything else tonight? Any other new business? All right, then I'd suggest we adjourn. Could I have a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Jennifer, I'll ask you to second.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor, Eleanor?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Yeah, and I vote yes. All right, we are adjourned. We'll see you in 2 weeks on the 16th of September.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, Ethan, Elaine, Judy.
Yes, thank you all.
Thank you.
Materials you put in front of us were very, very helpful. And Ethan, that summary of issues you gave us actually was quite helpful in terms of prep for the meeting.
Yeah, I liked a lot of Elaine's materials on the forest. I think those are very well done. So.
Oh yeah, those were really good. I think once Elaine figures out how we get it done, I think we want to push to get it done. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then-
I'd like to keep up the momentum.
yeah.
And Judy,
absolutely.
thank you for all your email clarifying the order. I think that was helpful too.
Okay.
All
We
right.
are
Thank you,
adjourned.
everybody. Bye.
Good night.
2 weeks. Bye.